20 minutes into Zero Parades and I have to lose a skill point because my anxiety is so high. My spy double pseudopod has been zeroed, unresponsive in a chair, listening to music that cannot be replayed. He's also not wearing any pants. My handler has called to demand I get out of town on the first tram. I can't tell who to trust. I've leaned into a paranoid intellectual archetype built on too much media literacy of 1970s spy thrillers. I've been at this job way too long, seen all my colleagues disappear, and I'm starting to believe the man with a bag on his head on TV. This is how Zero Parades opens. It only gets weirder from here. An hour later, I'm standing in a market watching TV with two children who tell me all about their favourite television show, 66 Wolves, where lycanthropes emerge from the heart of a girl to fight the angels. I wonder about the future symbolism of this as a woman who is clearly destined to fight the powers that be. To aid my proletarian struggle, I wrangle a cool sword off the kids. An hour after that, I'm impersonating the police, I've called an abduction hotline, and I found out there's a boar infestation in town, which I'm clearly going to fight with my plastic sword. The point here is not absurdity, although it abounds in Zero Parades. It's time. Time is important in Zero Parades. Like the spy that you are, it pays to observe the passing of time and the movements of its people. The world progresses around you as the day passes. When I went back to the bazaar in the evening, the children were gone, the television abandoned. It's one of the most subtle and beautiful aspects of Zero Parade's narrative design. As I was playing, it struck me how this progression through the day was so perfectly constructed. From the first examination of Pseudopod's body, which directs you to ask around the market, to finding the disc seller, to moving further into the city. The conversations you have along the way aren't guaranteed. You could come to these places by various different paths. But these conversations built the world and my quests as I progressed. A young party vendor worried about her missing father. A market seller bothered by the pervert observing from on high. The children wanting to collect 6 wolf cups in a heady portent to your 6 missing colleagues. In Zero Parades, you play Herschel Wilk, cryptonym Cascade, a rogue opera agent in the city of Portofino, back in theatre for one last mission. Her catastrophic last mission saw her comrades dispersed by the fascist surveillance operators of the Weeping Eye, and this past haunts her through her choices in the game. You uncover the city's secrets one by one, each significant chapter bookended by these beautifully designed and thrilling set pieces where your choices and your dice rolls determine the outcome. While you can occasionally die, as I found out, the fail forward system means that the story won't stumble to a halt at a failed dice roll. Although you will be surprised at how your choices eventually play out. Even the most innocuous conversation in Zero Parades can affect future events. Cascade's cryptonym is representative of what the player does. Each choice has a positive or negative effect throughout the game. It cascades down over time. That little chat I had with the depressive audiophile in the market comes back to haunt me later as I try and engage in a conversation about music. His misanthropic views bum my enthusiasm in the form of negative modifiers to my skill checks. Sometimes exhausting dialogue trees is actually bad for you and occasionally bad for your health. There's a more nuanced take here to this game of FOMO where we've been trained to click every button, ask every question, exhaust every piece of dialogue. In Zero Parades, it's best to remember that you are a spy. And as they say, discretion is the better part of valor. CRPGs have always been dialogue heavy, but Zero Parades practically overwhelms the senses. The rasping narrator's voice crawls across the words as if she's scratching to get out of Cascade's psyche.
More, harder, again.
It's an active choice to be patient, to listen to the dialogue as one would an audiobook, and it's unapologetically dense at times, and sometimes apologetically too, but it rewards the intellectually curious gamer with musings on everything from art to economics. The best diatribes are delivered by the most absurd characters. The Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas doppelganger, Dr. Gonza, my personal favourite character. The perpetually drunk agent of the Free State, Oscar Metamoto, who's always in love. And the all-caps monkey. What makes them memorable is their originality, their absurdity, those little hooks that make them tick and sink their way into the player's subconscious well after the game has finished. Which brings us to Herschel Wilk, operant Cascade herself. I considered it a flaw of the game that the main character didn't have a perceived identity for the player to latch onto. There was no permission slip for outlandish behaviour, nor was there a nudge towards seriousness. Cascade is as you make her. As I thought about this more, I was struck with an epiphany. Where does a middle-aged woman fit into any identity? In media, middle-aged women are often relegated to their roles as mothers. They are the ones who heroically die, catapulting the orphaned hero on their journey. What is a middle-aged woman without children? Except for an absence. She fits no story, we have no story to give her. She is a blank slate melding to whatever the situation calls for. For this moment, she is everything and nothing, and she is a spy. Those expecting a straight spy story from Zero Parades might walk away bamboozled by the metaphysical aspects of this world. There's few games where the plot revolves around techno-necromancy, a first-year university reading of Francis Fukuyama, and a phone sex hotline that could bring down an economy. But metaphysical agents are nothing new. You only need to look back at G.K. Chesterton's 1908 novel, The Man Who Was Thursday, to know they've always been there. If you're willing to open your mind to the weirdness, Zero Parades is a deep meditation on the use of art as a tool of totalitarian soft power. The Lusian techno-fascists utilize the latest fashions and melancholy tones of pop star Ultravioletta to reinforce their power. Zero Parades feels timely in a world where technology threatens the existence of truth, where people are disenfranchised from economic systems and democratic institutions, where art is getting harder to create at a time where human-created art is more important than ever. But if you know how to use it, art can also be used against the powers that be. While I try to accept my choices as the product of my playthrough, there have been times where my mouse has clicked into that save file menu, reloading a save from several hours ago. It's false thinking because there's never a right or wrong way to play a game. There are only choices and consequences. In fact, Zero Parades rewards you for committing to these choices. The game imitates the tabletop experience, rolling die for skill checks. These checks can be modified by your own skills, knowledge gleaned through spycraft, clothing, or reinforced thoughts. And despite being able to wear a paper bag on your head to increase your nerve, as I did for most of the game, the most interesting modifiers are the reinforced thoughts, internalized on a fritzing in-menu CRT television screen. While each thought brings positive reinforced effects, such as skill increases, making choices that contradict this thought constitutes a violation and gives you negative modifiers. Think of it as an internalized belief system for your character, born from your own in-game choices. For example, it was easy enough to pick up the primitive accumulation thought, which allows you to steal money from vending machines. The negative side of this is when you work a side job, you lose your reinforced effects and gain a relation disadvantage. Easy to manage, steal things don't work. But late game, I uncovered the reinforced thought, single right only. The anti-save scum thought, no manual saves, only choices. You violate this thought whenever loading from the pause menu, or if you die and have to reload, as I found out while sampling some delicacies from Dr. Gonza's mysterious stash. But the benefit of this thought can't be ignored with a +1 bonus to all red checks. Now that is a good perk. Single right only's caption reads that a wise man once said that whatever happens has already happened. Now it looks like someone's been keeping track. Welcome to the rest of all possible worlds. Games are implied multiverses, but despite the plethora of choices, there is only one world. As Petra, the format fetishist, comments on music that can only be listened to once.
As in life, everything happens only once. Replayability is Oblivion, the end.
Like all media, there is only one first time. In replaying, we cannot recreate the wonder of the new. After deeply considering it, I committed to single right only. And now we arrive back at the question of time. I've been playing games a long time. My earliest memory of games was born from terror as a 3-year-old watching my father point and click his way through the black and white dungeons of Scarab of Ra. Nearly 40 years later, I sit confronted by the choices that have led me to this point. I wonder how many more years of gaming I have left. I wonder whether the thousands of hours spent in digital worlds have been worth it. There's something really profound in playing a middle-aged woman watching the cascading impact of her actions. When you're a middle-aged woman watching the cascading impact of her actions. Time has passed in Portofino, day has turned to night, the credits have rolled, and yet as I step away from the computer, my time is not yet up. I like to think I've made good choices in life. I write role-playing games for a living, something that the teen playing Baldur's Gate 1 would never have thought possible at the time. Then there are the choices I regret. The choices that still play out in my daily life, whether it is the cloud of anxious approval hanging over my relationships, or my fear of entering poverty again. But you can't save Scum life, because replayability is Oblivion. And those cascading choices over time have made me who I am. The passcode given to Cascade rings true, defeated but incapable of surrender. Or maybe instead of melancholy, I should just take some advice from the opera's most paranoid spy, Holocene. He says, "It's just time, Cascade. No need to take it so seriously." I'm Kate Clay, a game writer from Melbourne, Australia. If you like this long-form essay and you want to see more personal essays on video games, then check out my channel, hit that subscribe button, and thanks so much for watching.